Hey guys, Andrew here with Friffy Films, and today on Editing with Andy, we're going to go over our introduction to Adobe Premiere Pro. Let's jump right in and check it out, shall we?
Pull up your solitaire and take a stranger's candy. It's editing, it's editing, it's editing, it's editing, it's editing with Andy.
Well, hello there. I'd like to welcome you to the very first episode of Editing with Andy. On today's episode, we're going to start with an introduction to Adobe Premiere Pro, and we'll sort of go from everything you need to know from beginner to intermediate to maybe some advanced stuff along the way. I'm Andy, your host, so you're going to have to deal with me a little bit. By showing you guys this stuff, I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that I have the best ways or the only ways to do this stuff. What I am saying is that I am learning every day too, and I'm just trying to help some people out. With that being said, if there's anything that I'm going over that I kind of breeze over and you want me to go more in detail with, or if there's something else that you know, maybe little tips and tricks that you want to let us know so we can let you folks know too, that would be great. Without further ado, let's get into the first episode of Editing with Andy. I'm going to assume that you know how to download the Creative Cloud and make sure you have your programs installed and stuff like that. If you don't know how to install a program, I recommend maybe watching some tutorials on basic computer usage, perhaps. Anyway, I'm on the MacBook here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna launch Premiere Pro. Let's check it out. Alright, so when you first open Premiere, a sort of a project window pops up, and you can select from some recent projects you might have been working on, or you can start a new one by clicking New Project, which is what I'm going to do. We'll label this one EWA for Editing with Andy, Episode 1 Introduction, but you can label it whatever you would like, obviously. I'm just going to put it to the desktop, so it's going to create the file there. All this other stuff should be fine, so you just want to click OK. You should be good to go there. So boom, here's Premiere Pro. So basically I just wanted to show you the general lay of the land, so you kind of know where everything is and where things pop up, so you can sort of start navigating around here before we get into some other things. So firstly, I guess down here, we'll start in the bottom left-hand corner. This is what's known as the media browser, and this is where you would import all of your, graphics, your footage and files and things like that, and it's all going to kind of show up here. You can actually browse through things that are on your computer through here, go through and see some info. When you're looking for certain effects and stuff like that, you kind of can go to this tab and type things in or search for different effects and things. Markers tab, history, blah, 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 captions. They're all just individual panels, and you can kind of go through and customize and have up what you would like up and what you would not like up eventually when you get the hang of it and you know kind of what you're trying to do and what you're not trying to do here. Over here we have the timeline, and that's kind of where all of your footage and everything is going to be placed and cut up and stuff like that. So when you're going to be putting your audio and music and effects and all that stuff, everything's going to sort of be laid out in line right here. So that's where the actual footage will go. Up here we have the program monitor. Actually, let me grab something for you. I'll just grab the Friffy Films logo. You can either double click here and import stuff from your desktop or from wherever onto here. You can go import. You just go to File, Import. You can hit Command I on your keyboard. And you can also just simply drag and drop stuff right in here as well. So I like that one, so I'll do that, but there's like a bunch of different ways to actually bring stuff in here. So actually before that, let's kind of go to the preview window. Once you have some footage in here, this is just a little small clip of our Friffy Films logo here. If you double click here, it sort of brings up a preview monitor of whatever source or clip you selected there. So a lot of people use this window to sort of use the I and O keys on here to select in and out points, and you can see that the shortcuts for those are right here. So if you have a bunch of clips and you're trying to create a sequence, you would kind of double click up here, you hit your I point, and maybe you want it to stop here, and you hit O, and then from there you can either kind of drag video or audio down into your sequence, and it will just select a specific clip that you marked with your in and out point. So that's kind of what the preview window is for. Or if you're just kind of going through and you want to see, you just kind of want to see what clips you know, what you have shot and everything like that. So down here, there's some things that you can add which are called new items. And by the way, you're going to want to learn your shortcuts with the tilde key here that sort of minimizes and maximizes whichever window you have selected. And we'll go over keyboard shortcuts in a later episode, but that's good to know here. So I'm just maximizing it with this tilde key. I think that's what it's called, with the little squiggle and like a comma on the bottom, squiggle on top and a comma on the bottom in the top left of your keyboard there. And by the way, there's going to be some PC instructions for this too if you're not on a Mac, so I'll be sure to put the time marker down below so you can go ahead and skip forward if you're on the PC there. So down here in the bottom right corner, you will see there's a couple things that you can do. A new bin, new item. For whatever reason, instead of folders in Premiere Pro, they call them bins, but it's really just a folder. So you can create one. I'll call it sequences. Let's do that for now and see what happens here. So basically, I'm going to make a new sequence. I'm going to put new item, sequence, 24 frames per second, 1080p, AVC HD. That's good. Gives a nice like film look, I suppose. We'll go over frame rates and resolution and all that in later episodes. Again, this is kind of just a general overview of some things here. So I forgot to label that, so I'm actually gonna select it and hit enter, and I'm gonna call it logo test 1. I don't know, just for now. So basically, it opened up my sequence. So you see here, it says now in our timeline, it says logo test 1. Here's our playhead that we can kind of grab here and scrub across. There's nothing in there yet because we didn't add anything here. To do that, we can go ahead and make sure that say this is the clip that we want. And all you have to do is you can either drag it right into your sequence and you'll get this message because I think this is like a 720 thing or something like that. We're going to keep the existing settings. Yeah, this is a lot smaller than a 1080 sequence. That's something that you'll kind of come into actually a lot there. That is where like the resolution and everything with your frame rate and frame size and stuff will come into play. But again, we'll get into that at a later date. Let me kind of take that out of there again. I'm just I'm selecting and hitting delete. You can also right click and where is it? Add to sequence. Okay, so basically you can add your footage. You can just simply drag and drop it in. It says keep existing settings, change sequence settings. I'm going to keep existing settings because I want it to be a 1080 situation. And also when you hover over like the lines and stuff, you can sort of customize and drag and drop things around. In your timeline window right next to here, I wanted to tell you too, there's this toolbar here, and you're gonna wanna kind of become familiar with the different tools. They'll help you with different cuts and moves and things that you have to make when you're editing. The ones that you use mostly are pretty much the selection tool and the razor tool. It's basically just selecting, right? And then the razor tool is C. I'm doing the shortcut C for that, C and V, and that's just so you can actually make cuts in your footage. If you're using the keyboard shortcuts, C and V are definitely something that you'll be using a lot, switching back and forth. Since this is smaller than my sequence, I'm just going to right click and click scale to frame size. And I'm going to lose a little bit of quality by doing that and kind of stretching it into a larger frame size, but for this purpose, I'm just showing you something really quick. But anyway, you have your footage and let me maximize this for you really quick. You can also hover over these lines and sort of drag things and make them bigger. So basically you have your footage and you have your audio tracks, and you can see A1, A2, that's your audio tracks, V1, V2, those are your video tracks. And basically this is your little scrubber. And as you drag it across, the horizontal line represents time. So this is going by in seconds. With your trackpad, you can sort of zoom in and zoom out and kind of get in where you're trying to go and stuff like that. So that represents time. As you go forward, you can mute your audio, you can turn on and off your actual video tracks from right here, but again, we're going to go more in depth and everything. I'm just trying to give you a general layout. Up here in the preview panel, you have your effects controls in the next tab, and that basically opens up the effects for whatever you have selected in your timeline here. Let's go over to our effects tab down here and just pick one. I don't know, wipe. Let's just do that. Just drag, it's like just a video transition, right? So I just did a general video transition onto it. You can grab the transitions and sort of make it a little less there, right? see how nothing's there up here when it's not selected, but if I actually select that effect, it actually brings the effect up in the effect controls window. So if, say, I wanted it to wipe the other way instead, you can kind of go up into what you're trying to affect. Now it wipes from the right side instead of the left side. You see there? Same thing if you wanted to add, let's say, a amplifier to your audio, right? You can simply just drag and drop your effects. And then now, since that is selected, it kind of pops up in the window here. Maybe it's a little bit too loud, so I'll bring it down. And now you can see that whatever you have selected is what you can affect in the effect controls window. Up here you also have your audio mixer, so you can also kind of see your different tracks and channels and stuff that way, and sort of, you know, go through and adjust. There's some shortcuts. Like I said, you can also kind of use your bracket keys for up and down here in Premiere, but again, we're going to go over all of this in more detail. I'm just kind of showing you how it works here. So this represents time. A represents your audio tracks, V represents your video tracks. You can kind of grab yourself some effects here and drag them onto your clips. This is kind of your final output or your program monitor, so this is what you're actually seeing in your final video. There's also a couple like shortcuts like space. You can start and stop by playing the space bar. There's some other different things. You can actually customize these buttons down here too, but you can actually toggle things on and off and go into your, you know, multicam editing mode and stuff like that. If you're having trouble with some playback, if your computer can't handle it, this is kind of the resolution or the quality of your playback, so you can kind of adjust that if you can't play everything on full. You also have some other settings and things like that for your monitors and other stuff. So yeah, another little baby window down here that comes is your levels meter, so you can kind of see if you're peaking or overmodulating or anything like that. And that's about it. I guess the only other thing I can think of is if you're going to render, like say you wanted to finish this sequence, you can either hit Command M, which will bring up your rendering options, or if you don't want to do that, you can just go up to File, and you can hit Export and Media, and then usually H.264, high quality, 1080 HD is good, and let it do its thing. And then you can either hit Q and it will open it up in Adobe Media Encoder, and you can continue to work while it's rendering for you, or if you hit Export, it will just export it right here really quick, right in your program. And as you can see, that was really quick, so I think it did it already, and then it will export your file for you. Right? Boom. And you got your little video file. So basically, I guess that's about it. That's kind of what I wanted to show you, a general overview. Again, this is the first episode in our Editing with Andy series, and I'd like to take you through everything kind of from beginner level to intermediate stuff to more advanced things and stuff like that. So I'm kind of taking it from assuming you've never even looked at this program before to all the way up to, you know, using it professionally and to get projects done on a daily basis. Again, I'm Andy, so if you want to learn, you're going to have to deal with me. I'm glad you stopped by, and I hope to see you on the next episode when we go over dumping your footage onto your computer. Have a good day. Keep it real.